Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And this is such an anticipated video. I've been getting so many requests from people like, when are the FPL videos with Yelena coming back? And they are finally back. And it feels like it's been forever. But Yelena, so good to see you finally. How's it going?
It's good. It's so good to be back. I'm really excited. I think we just had a pre-chat before this, and both of us don't really know what to do with our teams. So this has come at a really good time.
It's like our typical therapy sessions for sure. So it'll be amazing. Sorry for the background, guys. Like, I'm in my childhood bedroom. If you can't tell, like this is my current bedroom, and so I kind of have like a makeshift setup here. But so don't make fun of me too much, but I still stand by this. Like, I am going to the Eras tour. You can believe it.
You
Uh,
managed to get tickets.
yeah, that's another story, but I'm going to the Lisbon show, which will be like
Wow.
amazing. Yeah. So guys, this is going to be our first draft of FPL. I'm so excited to be able to talk to somebody else about this because I feel like I've been tinkering a lot. So obviously we're recording this on July 19th. So preseason is just starting to kick off. Chelsea actually play their first game of preseason against Wrexham tonight, or yeah, like in the morning, I guess, for UK time. And so we'll get like our first look really at like how the teams are going to line up. So like, I'm sure that my draft is going to change a million times over, but we have a starting point, which is always really good. But to start off, maybe before we get into our teams, do you have like a strategy for before you start FPL? Like, do you have a typical formation that you tend to go with that you feel has been more successful for you? Do you tend to keep money in the bank? Just use everything straight away? What do you think like works for you?
So this season, with the price changes, I think I'm going to go quite heavy in the midfield, which I wouldn't normally do. But there are so many good options. I think I'm going to go full attack. But I'm at the moment I don't have any money in the bank, and I feel as though I need to keep some, especially if I go without Salah. I would like to be able to get to him ideally in one move and not have to take a hit or have to wait a week to bring him in. So I'm a bit hesitant. I think what would be quite nice is maybe a million, 1.5 in the bank. So I've got that money to tinker around with. But so far, I'm not following my own strategy. So it's not going brilliantly. What about
It's
you?
so hard. Yeah, it's so hard. Right now, I have a million in the bank, but I
Mm.
feel like my team is looking like a little bit weak. So maybe we can just get into it. Guys, it's been a sec, so I'm like trying to figure out like how to share my screen and like present it. Okay, hopefully you can see
That was
everything.
effortless.
It was. Oh my God.
That went so well. End the stream.
That's it. This is the end. Um So this is my draft for my first team. I I feel like I typically play more of maybe like a 4-3-3, kind of
Mm.
depending. Like you said, I feel like the midfield options are super good. So that has lended me to kind of lean towards a 3-5-2. And I do have a million in the bank at the moment. Let's talk about goalkeepers first. So Pickford and goal, I think that we both have that option, 4.5 million. Do you tend to go with a 4.5 million goalkeeper, or do you like maybe opt for somebody who is more of a guarantee for clean sheets but is a little bit pricier?
So last season I went pricier, and it overall went quite well for me. I was going to go pricier, but I've stayed with Pickford for now. But I've got my eye on Verbruggen, and I've also got my eye on Flecken. But the problem is I've already got Brentford and Brighton defenders, so I don't know whether I want to do the double up on defence. But if we go with that Pickford, there's Tarkowski. He's looking quite strong in defence as well. So Pickford is one. I'm probably banking more on save points, and that's something that I didn't really prioritise last season, and I think I need to look into more because I went for the clean sheets. And we saw games, didn't we, where it's like Liverpool was losing to bottom 10 sides
Yeah.
terribly. So I don't know if we can really rely on clean sheets anymore after the kind of shocks that we had last season. So I think I'm going to go save points, and that's why I think Pickford's quite a good choice. And then you're still saving the money to put into the rest of the team, because goalkeeper is a weird one. I don't prioritize them that much, but I really should, because that's where you can slowly build up the points.
Yeah.
Spend so much money on them, really.
And I feel that it happened to me last season. I honestly couldn't tell you who I started the season with because I don't typically change my goalkeeper so much. But last season, I really struggled with finding one who was consistent. And I remember I started with a 4.5, and then I think eventually I chose Kepa, who at the time was cheaper, but he had the situation that was really surprising that he became Chelsea's first team goalkeeper and Mendy wasn't, which at the moment was just like inconceivable. But I did really struggle with like, okay, do I go for somebody who's a little bit pricier, who maybe is more guaranteed, like you said, those clean sheet points, versus somebody who's cheaper, can get you more save points, but maybe they're conceding more. And I think it'll be interesting to see as well, because last season we saw a lot of teams like you would expect Man City to be keeping clean sheets, and they weren't keeping so many. Liverpool as well, Chelsea as well. So it'll be interesting to see kind of which teams start off the season well. And that's why I like having the money in the bank, so that if I need to, I can change the position if I need to, but I generally try not to touch the goalkeeper too much.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's really hard because also last season you'd always think you had the clean sheet, and then it would be the final minute or it'd be an extra time. It was the most annoying thing. But I think I'd rather put the money in the defence. And we had a scenario last season. I think Newcastle, I can't remember how many clean sheets they got in a row, but their defence was incredible, and a lot of people were doubling up obviously on the keeper and the defenders. So it could be something that could happen this season. So that kind of makes me think maybe I should take a punt and have. I mean, I could bring in Tarkowski, but the clean sheet's not looking as likely. But if I do go for Brighton or a Brentford keeper, then if I do have the defenders too, that would actually work out in my favour. But we just need to see them play to get an idea of how things are going.
Totally. And so that brings us to the defense. And I think, like, in my defense, there's a pretty glaring hole that I don't currently have Trent in my draft. I did a couple of drafts with Trent and a couple without, and I'm just having like a hard time fixing my team with Trent and the midfields that I want. So for now, he's not in my team, but I'll want to see how Liverpool get on preseason as well. Of course, we saw towards the end of last season he was playing more in a midfield role and was tagged as a defender, so that was really positive because he was finally starting to get those goal contributions that he's known for. So I've gone with Shaw, Gabriel, and Estupinian. Like, anybody who knows from last season knows, like, I'm a massive fan of Estupinian, and like I always try to have him in my team. And I am maybe a little bit hesitant about how that Brighton defense is going to do. They have European football this year. That's also the same reason why I've stayed away from Trippier. 6.5 mil, I think, off the top of my head, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it could be a little bit cheaper. But I'm curious to see like how Newcastle deal with that. So maybe I would upgrade that position. And maybe the most interesting thing for me is that I could easily bring in Levi Colwill. Right now, he's my 4.5 million defender. And with all of the injuries that Chelsea have at the moment, Wesley Fofana has to undergo ACL injuries. So I think he's going to be out for basically the entire season, if I'm not mistaken. You have Badiashile, who's currently injured, Thiago Silva, who's not going to be able to play every game. And then Trevor Chalobah looks like he's a bit on the bubble. And I've seen reports that we don't really know what's going to happen with him because apparently Poch only wanted 4 defenders. Now that Fofana's out, maybe that changes it. But he's one of the ones that is maybe a bit on the bubble. So I do look at Levi Colwill and I think he has a very, very, very good chance of being a starting defender for Chelsea. Do I want him over somebody like a Reece James or Ben Chilwell? I want to see how Chelsea do in preseason, but that might be one that changes as well. What do you think?
That's a really interesting one, actually. And how much is Colwell?
4.5.
This could be one of the key things to get ahead in FPL is finding that asset that no one else has ahead of them kind of coming into their prime. And this could be one. If Chelsea are completely different under Poch and our defence is actually quite solid this season, you'll be a step ahead of everyone else. So I think that's such a great shout, actually. I'm not going to risk it with James this season. The
He just
injuries.
curses my team. Like, I love
Yeah.
Reece James to bits, but every time I have him in, he gets injured. So I'm not.
Honestly, he is the most talented player, and it's such a loss when he can't play. And I feel so sorry for him because mentally that must be absolutely draining. But I can't risk bringing him on my team. Chilwell, I am tempted by. But there was a lot of last season was hard as a Chelsea fan, wasn't it? I don't know if I can have the disappointment on my team and in real life. But hopefully we're on the up. But I don't want to curse them. Really interesting what you said about Trent because I didn't have him in any of my drafts. And then I went on FPL Twitter, everyone had him. You were an idiot if you didn't. And then I showed my boyfriend my first draft, and the first thing he said is, "Where's Trent? You're missing out." So I brought him in, but I'm not sold. I don't think I'm feeling that excited about Liverpool. Last season, they were okay. I don't think they were particularly amazing. The defense wasn't incredible. I don't know why I've got him in my team, but it is completely the fear of missing out. So I don't know whether because if I get rid of him, bring in a 4.5 million defender, I've got so much money to then play around with and upgrade maybe one of my forward positions, midfielder. I don't know, or I've just got the money in the bank and I've got a bit more flexibility. So I don't know. Now I've spoken to you, I'm tempted to go without. And then Estepinian, we're the opposite. I didn't want him in my team, but again, saw his ownership. I think he's the second most highly owned player after
No
Haaland at the
way.
moment.
What?
It's crazy. Everyone has him, and I don't quite understand why. Because I know towards the end of last season, he was suddenly on fire, and then there was that one game. Didn't he get 17 points or something ridiculous?
Yeah, that he like didn't do much, and I was like, "Come on, what's going on?"
And then I was late because I can't remember who I had, but I ended up bringing him in, and then it wasn't very exciting. But he's in my team now, and yeah, I think that's again fear of missing out. But really interesting, you don't have Trent. I think I might try and brave it and go with someone else.
Yeah, I think like I totally understand where you're coming from with this Stupignon because I also have my reservations. Like, how are they going to be able to handle the like the extra like what's the word that I'm looking for? Like, well, just like the extra like challenge of having European football and obviously the wear and tear on the team and your body as
Mm,
well, just like playing more. And also seeing if they how they do without McAllister. Um, and I don't know, like I feel that I was a little bit too like caught in like what everybody else was doing last season. So
mm.
now I'm like really, really trying to like follow my heart because whenever I follow my heart, if it doesn't work out, I'm like, oh, okay, well, at least I did it. But then when I don't and I knew like I kind of had like a different feeling, I was like, oh, I should have done that. And I get super upset. So I'm like trying more. I
But
think
it
the
paid off
key.
for you last season because you captained Wilson, didn't you?
Oh my god, that one turned out to be like one of the like craziest moments of the season.
Your rank just flew. You did so well.
That was insane. Now I know not to make like knee jerk decisions as well. Don't be me at the beginning of last season and just like automatically start taking hits and everything. That's why I'm
Mm,
trying to be a little bit smarter this year, have some money in the bank. But I'm still undecided on Trent. Like I want to see how Liverpool play in preseason.
mm.
Obviously, they have a difficult fixture as well. They have Chelsea at home for the first game of the season as well. Um, but that's kind of where my thinking is with the defense. Moving on to the midfield, I have loads of problems as well. Like you said, because of the pricing. So we've seen some of the Arsenal assets like Odegaard and Martinelli go up to 8 million. I think Saka's
Mhm.
also sitting at 8 million, which is super interesting. And then Bruno, I think, is 8.5 and Rashford 9 off the top of my head. So they're all sitting at kind of a similar price point. And I feel
Mhm.
that the interesting thing with the pricing is that you have so many good options and right now we just don't know which ones are going to hit off. I'm a little bit nervous about having the double united. I couldn't pick between the two of them though, like between Bruno and Rashford. I think my head's leaning more towards Rashford. So
Mm.
tentatively, they're both in my team. Maybe I would try to get another Arsenal asset. I feel like Arsenal are going to have a great season as well. So I have Madison in there. That's the one that I'm feeling maybe like the least secure about.
Mhm.
So I don't know. What are your thoughts on the midfield?
Madison is a fun one. I'm really intrigued to see how he gets on at Spurs. So I think that's definitely watch closely in pre-season, see where he fits in the team, because I think Madison's either going to be in everyone's team because he's incredible, or will just be really low ownership and doesn't really
Yeah.
do too much. Because I'm really banking on Son having a great season as well. So we'll see where we go from there. With Fernandez, I'd personally move over to an Arsenal asset because there was only 0.5 million difference between Fernandez and Rashford. Rashford was my go-to, and I think he's on penalties as well, and he's
Yeah.
really impressed me. Fernandez, we both brought him in. I think it was for the double game week towards the end of last season. Do you
Yes.
remember we were cursing him? Because Ross had told us both, he suggested Fernandez as a transfer, and he didn't do anything in the first game. We were cursing Ross, cursing Fernandez, and then he scored in the second game, and we were so happy.
We're like, you redeem yourself for us. It's okay.
Exactly, you can carry on as FPL Raptor. But I think I would lean towards Rashford and then bringing in an Arsenal asset for the midfield.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about as well, like between the two, because I was like, okay, it's only 0.5 million difference. So maybe I'll do it like a double Arsenal,
Mm.
depending on how they get on in preseason. Since I have Saka, I really liked him. I'm not gonna go for Havertz or anything like that. I'm just like a little bit too wary. But I think
Yeah.
in terms of Arsenal assets, I would maybe look into bring Odegaard or Martinelli. Um,
Mm.
and then also monitoring Madison as well, because that's one that maybe I would like downgrade that position, bring in, maybe go like for a 3-4-3 or something like that. Um, and then we have the attack. I think everybody has Holland in their team,
Yeah.
and is captaining Holland. But then the interesting one is, oh wait, I already have three Arsenal. I'm just realizing. 'Cause
Oh yeah, we can't go for them in the midfield.
we can't go for double Arsenal in the midfield because I have Gabriel, Saka, and Jesus. So that's super interesting as well. Like maybe changing Jesus for somebody and bringing in
Mm.
a different Arsenal midfielder. Can you tell that it's like I haven't done this in a couple of months and my mind is like super foggy because I'm like, oh yeah, let's just have four Arsenal.
Yeah, just go wild. You know what? I've been thinking about downgrading Jesus and bringing in Erdegaard, which is why I think in my head that's what you were doing. I'll just plan your team.
Yes, please do it. I suffer so much because I'm like, oh my gosh, like who's going to hit it off? And my problem is that I always have a super crappy start. Like the first game week comes, I'm like, oh, this sucks. And then I like try to use my wild card super early. So I'm like trying to be smart about it. But what other
Let's make
forward
a pact. We'll try and roll our first transfer. So then game week 3, we've got
Yes.
2 free transfers, and then we can rip
Yes.
up our teams.
Yes, exactly. So what forward options are you looking at? Because I think like these are maybe the two most popular ones. I haven't seen
Mm.
so many other shouts, to be honest. Maybe Kane. I've seen some people try to fit Kane and Holland into their teams.
Do
But
we know what his future is yet? Because I haven't included him in any drafts because I don't know if he's going to stay with Spurs.
I haven't. The latest I saw was a couple of weeks ago that like Bayern Munich, I think it was Bayern Munich were interested. I think
Mm.
they might have even put a bid in, but it was like super low, like maybe 70 million.
Yeah.
So the last that I saw, there hasn't been any news on his future. So it could be that he leaves Spurs, but we just don't know yet.
I'd be heartbroken for Spurs fans if Kane left, but from a
Yeah,
fantasy football perspective, it makes life so much easier because then you're only
totally.
really choosing between Haaland and Salah and you're good to go.
Exactly.
No, forward options are hard because the thing is, I think if I downgraded Jesus and went for an Arsenal midfielder, I would probably just literally have a bench warmer, cheapest defender I can find, someone that may potentially get minutes, but I'm not really too fussed about. But it's really tricky because, again, Haaland Jesus is such a popular combination. And Jesus at the start of last season did so well for my team. And then, did he get injured? And he was off
Yeah,
for a
he
while.
got injured. Yeah.
Because, yeah, he was out for ages. And then when he came back again, he was strong. But it's hard with Arsenal because they've got so much talent. You don't know where the goals are going to come from. So you go Odegaard, it's going to be Martinelli. You take out Jesus, he'll suddenly get a hat trick. It's a really tricky one.
Totally. And that's a really hard thing, is like trying to figure out where the goals are going to come from. So I'm definitely keeping a keen eye on Arsenal, Liverpool in preseason, and of course Chelsea, but that goes without saying. So let's get into your team, which is like pretty different from my team. You have a 4-3-3 formation at the moment, 0 in the bank. We've talked about a lot of these players, but maybe let's start with Embuemo. He's somebody that I had in my initial draft, kind of tanker, took him out. Not sure how I'm feeling about it. So what are your thoughts on him? Is he like locked into your team, or are you still kind of tinkering around?
So I'm still tinkering. The formation as well. This was a 5-minute screenshot because I sent you originally the wrong keepers, and I was like, oh no. So I'm not fully tied to this one. But Mbeumo, I'm assuming he's going to be on penalties now. Tony's out for the season. If Tony was playing, I would 100% have him in. Wouldn't even consider having Mbeumo. But I think he's pretty locked in. I'm really excited to see Brentford play. And I don't know if they're signing anyone to replace Tony. I really need to do some more research. But I think he could be quite explosive this season. And like I said, assume he'll be on penalties. Fingers crossed, Brentford have quite a strong start to the season as well, because he could be quite a decent asset. I don't know how high his ownership is currently. I feel like it's fairly low. He has popped up in a lot of FPL teams on Twitter, but I don't know if he's generally that much of a popular pick. So I think I'm quite excited, and I really like having Brentford players. I don't know what it is. I think I've got a soft spot for them. So hopefully he'll do well.
He's at 25.3% ownership at the moment. So definitely like
I thought he was around 15.
Yeah, definitely climbing up there. He's somebody that I'm thinking like, oh, maybe I have him instead of Madison in my team. Maybe depending on preseason, how preseason goes as well. And the other we have like pretty similar teams, which I was surprised about actually, because I haven't really been on Twitter or anything, and I've kind of just been like playing around a bit. But the other difference is you have Ferguson in as a Brighton asset. So are you looking to have him over like one of those like Brighton midfielders that like did so well last season? How are you feeling about that?
So I was let down by Matoma last season because as soon as I brought him in, his form went and he couldn't finish, and it was really stressful to own him. So I've seen Matoma pop up in a lot of teams, and I think it could be one that comes back to bite me. But originally I had Enciso, my first draft had Enciso midfield. But I'm a little bit worried about his position. I don't know where he's going to be playing. So again, watching the preseason games really closely. Ferguson is a bit of a punt. And between Ferguson and Enciso, I thought actually that's too rogue to have both players when I'm not entirely sure how nailed they are. So I've just gone for one. So I've got Ferguson in for now, but this may change. But I'm worried his minutes are going to be managed, and they're going to have such a busy schedule. And I don't know whether he'll be one that potentially starts but then comes off early. So it's a bit of a risky pick, but again, it's one of those fun picks where there's something that just draws you to them. And then opening fixture, Luton, from newly promoted side, that could be goals everywhere. But whether they'll come from Ferguson, I'm not sure. I'm hoping they do. But again, Brighton's got a similar thing with Arsenal, where there's so much talent in the team. It could just, anyone could score. So Ferguson's in there for now. The ownership again is quite low. I think he's under 10%. Which could really, really help me in the ranks. And he's not too expensive, so it's not a massive risk for me, but it just depends if his minutes are nailed or not.
Not to put you on the spot, like, do you know who might be taking over penalties since McAllister went to Liverpool?
I don't know, actually.
Maybe we'll see what happens in preseason, because I'm sure maybe there will be a penalty versus Chelsea at the Philly game. I'll keep an eye on him for you so I can tell you.
Yeah, please do. Send me updates.
Yeah. And the last thing that kind of stands out to me in both of our teams is that neither of us have a City defender or midfielder. I've seen a couple of drafts with Foden, maybe Grealish. So are you staying away from the City players, Pep Roulette? Do you want to kind of see how they
Purely
get also?
roulette.
I know.
I was really tempted to break because the thing is, City, I mean, they won. Like, they are such a strong team. They're so impressive. The opportunity for clean sheets, it's there. But Pep Roulette, I'd prefer to risk a player that may not keep a clean sheet but might get bonus points or something, rather than a player that just doesn't start or comes on in the 70th minute. So Pep Roulette has scorned me. I do wonder whether we'll see a bit more of a stable team from City, but it's unlikely. I'm sure Pep
Yeah.
plays FPL and is just winding us all up.
Yeah, it's really hard, and especially now that Gundogan went to Barcelona, Riyad
Mhm.
Mahrez might be leaving as well. So it'll be interesting to see maybe the changes that Pep makes to the starting 11 and see if he continues with Pep Roulette or if we'll see a bit more of a stable team. But like
Mhm.
you, I feel that it's just like not a sure thing, and I really want my starting 11 to be players that I feel are going to be playing week in, week out. So that's why I have stayed away for now. But I think that we've gotten to like mostly everything. We've been recording for almost half an hour, which is extremely crazy to me that we're just like, I didn't think it was had been this long. Uh,
It goes
so
so fast.
I know. So those are our first drafts. As you can see, they're pretty similar teams, but there are some like key differences as well. So definitely a lot of tinkering to be
Mhm.
happening, but super excited that we're back doing our weekly vids. And
Yeah.
yeah, Yelena, let everybody know where they can find you.
I'm on YouTube and Twitter at Yelena FPL.
Nice. So, guys, make sure to subscribe to Yelena, follow her while you're at it. Might as well subscribe to this channel as well. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Who do you have in your teams? And I will hopefully see some of you at the Chelsea versus Philly preseason game, which I'm super, super excited to go to and just like get back into Chelsea and everything. So hope that you guys have a great rest of your day, evening, whatever time you're watching this. And until next time, we're out. Bye.
Bye.